Bruno, a man from the capital, is on his way to visit his friend in the mountains. He boards the same train as Alondra and sits across from her. Bruno is captivated by Alondra's beauty. He arrives at his destination and alights. Alondra is supposed to get off at the same destination, but she's sound asleep. Bruno is picked up by his friend Ramiro when he alights. After a while, Alondra wakes up to find that she's missed her stop. She gets off at the next station and tries to find a way to the hacienda. She's informed that she can only get there on horseback. Alondra decides to get on a horse and is accompanied by a young boy. Alondra has trouble riding the horse, and she instructs the boy to tie her to the horse so that she's more stable. The boy does as he's instructed, but warns her that it's very dangerous to do so. Alondra and the boy travel through the mountains for hours, and they come across a river. As they cross the river, gunshots can be heard from a distance. Bruno and his friend Ramiro are out hunting for wild game. The river currents get very strong and Alondra is swept away. Bruno and his friend Ramiro split up to improve their chances of hunting, with Bruno going toward the river. Bruno hears Alondra screaming and jumps into the water to save her. The current drags Bruno and Alondra a great distance, but Bruno finally manages to save her. Alondra and Bruno end up lost in the middle of nowhere. Back in San Miguel, before Raúl leaves, he meets up with Maria Elisa to say goodbye. Maria Elisa gives herself to Raúl. Afterwards, she feels guilty for giving herself to him, but Raúl promises to come back in 2 months to marry her. Bruno remembers Alondra from the train. Later, Alondra starts crying, and Bruno comforts and encourages her. At the hacienda, Carmelina informs Baldomero that she's pregnant. Baldomero is overjoyed and decides to marry her. As they fight to survive, Bruno and Alondra learn more about each other. They survive on eating plants and frogs. They talk more and develop feelings for each other. One day, Bruno startles Alondra, and she accidentally hits him, and they end up sharing a kiss. As time goes by, Alondra and Bruno fall deeper in love with each other. They give in to passion and commit to each other before God. For them, being lost in the mountains starts to feel like being in paradise. One day, they come across a native woman who gives them food and clothes. Alondra and Bruno spend wonderful days in the mountains, completely enamored with each other. They find an abandoned cabin and take shelter there. The cabin becomes the palace of their love, full of discomforts but also full of love and laughter. In San Miguel, Maria Elisa gets engaged to Don Pablo. Bruno's friend, Ramiro, who's been looking for him for days, finally finds him. Bruno seems nervous and worried after seeing Ramiro. When they get to Ramiro's cabin at dinner, Jose, Ramiro's friend, oblivious of Bruno's relationship with Alondra, informs Bruno that his wife sent him a letter. Alondra is taken aback. Ramiro and Bruno try to shut Jose up to keep him from revealing more information after he reveals that Bruno has a wife and 2 children. Alondra excuses herself and goes to cry. Bruno goes to her room and apologizes for not being honest with her, and they end up making love. Early in the morning, Alondra leaves before Bruno gets up, and Ramiro offers to accompany her to the station. Bruno wakes up and is frantic when he can't find Alondra. Alondra finally arrives at her father's hacienda. Her father is excited to see her. She tells her father everything she went through in the hands of Loreto and Rigoberto, and Baldomero regrets leaving her alone in San Miguel for so long. Days later, Alondra discovers Carmelina and Baldomero's romance and that they're expecting a baby. Alondra runs out in tears, but she soon comes to terms with it. Meanwhile, Bruno decides to go look for Alondra at her father's hacienda. Seeing how happy her father is with Carmelina and not wanting to interfere, Alondra secretly leaves early the next morning. Alondra leaves just when Bruno is arriving and their carriages barely miss each other. Bruno arrives at the hacienda and storms in to look for Alondra, not believing that she's left. He doesn't find her, and a maid informs him that she's left for San Miguel. 2 months have passed, and Raúl hasn't returned for María Elisa as he'd promised. María Elisa asks their maid, Librada, to inquire about him at the military. Librada is informed that Raúl himself requested to be transferred and will be away for a year or more. The same day, María Elisa is examined by a doctor and is informed that she's pregnant. María Elisa is distraught when she finds out about Raúl's deception. Alondra is back in San Miguel. She goes to Leticia's house. She tells Leticia about her adventure and that she suffers from the memory of Bruno. Bruno goes to San Miguel to look for Alondra and finds her in Leticia's house. Bruno informs Alondra that he's ready to get separated from his wife if she agrees to be with him. He informs Alondra that he's leaving for the capital and begs her to come with him. He tells her that the train will be leaving at 3 in the afternoon and that he'll be waiting for her. When he leaves, Alondra decides that she's going to live with Bruno. Alondra goes home to pack her luggage. She meets Loreto and Rigoberto and informs them that her father will be arriving the following morning to kick them out of the house. She goes to talk to María Elisa, but María Elisa runs into her room and locks the door. Librada helps Alondra pack her luggage. She informs Alondra about María Elisa's disappointment in Raúl. María Elisa attempts to take her own life. Everyone hears the gunshot and runs to her room. Loreto blames herself and is repentant for having forced her daughter to marry an old man. María Elisa is saved as the bullet has only grazed her shoulder. After knowing that María Elisa is okay, Alondra rushes to make it to the train station, but she arrives late and finds that Bruno's train has already left. Alondra cries, and Bruno decides to forget about her, thinking she doesn't want him. Loreto feels that this was a warning from the Lord, and she decides to change her ways. She apologizes to Alondra for mistreating her. The next day, Bruno arrives home to his wife and children, but he's still thinking about Alondra. His loving wife, Cristina, who missed him so much, is excited to see him. María Elisa and Alondra plan to leave for the capital together to start a new life. At night, they sneak out, but Rigoberto discovers their plan and tries to stop them. Alondra puts him in his place and they get away.